Susan Sontag wrote that everyone who is born holds dual citizenship in the kingdom of the well and in the kingdom of the sick. Oh hey, it's been a hot minute. If you haven't noticed, I got a haircut and now it's short again. If you watched some of my older videos, I've had short hair for a really long time. I grew it all out and I was just really missing the short hair life. So I chopped off 9 inches. So anyways, I wanted to film a video today because I am having surgery this week. It's a minor surgery, it's not related to EDS or CRPS, but it's still surgery. And I think that as I've spent more time in this kingdom of the sick, I've gotten a little more nervous about surgery. And so I thought it would be helpful for me to just kind of talk through some of those things on the camera, because what better way to cope with your feelings than just telling them to the internet. So this is my first surgery living more or less on my own. I still live in a college dorm on a college campus, and so I still have like my social safety network and I still have, responsible adults around me, but my parents aren't coming up for the surgery, and so I'm kind of doing this like on my own for the first time. And I was starting to get a little nervous about that until I realized that I'm actually pretty qualified to handle my health on my own. And, as Susan Sontag says, we all live in these two worlds, which I really don't think should be that separate, but they are. And those of us who are chronically ill or disabled spend a lot more time in this kingdom of the sick than the average person. I feel like it wasn't until I got to college and started talking to more people that I realized that to have the amount of medical experience that I have at my age is weird. A lot of people are in college and have never had a surgery or have never been to the ER or even set foot in a hospital outside of volunteering. And that to me is wild because I spend so much time in medical settings. To be clear, definitely not as much as some people. I have had 5 or 6 surgeries in my lifetime, and I know that there are people who have hit the double digits, and people who hit the double digits before their age got into the double digits, and who, have at least one inpatient stay every year. And not to say any of this as if it's a competition, but I think knowing that made me think that my own medical experience was kind of tame comparatively, and I'm realizing now that no, it's still unusual. And in a way it's kind of nice because I get to be the point person for my healthy friends when they're going to an ER or having a surgery and they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, just pack this in your bag, do this, ask these questions. And it's kind of cool for that expertise to be useful. But I've been reflecting more on just how much I have lived my life in this state of being sick to some extent or the other. I knew what my preferred vein for IVs was before I had my driver's license. And I had checked off probably half of the departments at our local children's hospital before I got to high school. When I moved to a new city, the first thing I do is look at local ERs and try to figure out which one I'm gonna go to if I have a problem, which is super weird, but something that I do instinctually. And I think it's just because when you spend so much time growing up sick, when you grow up in hospitals and around doctors and being poked and prodded, and having surgeries, this is just a part of your life. It becomes really normal. And it forces you to grow up really quickly, I think. The first time that I went to an ER by myself was the summer after my first year of college when I was living in New York City, and I just went by myself. I called a Lyft and I just went on my own. I go to doctor's appointments on my own now. I go to hospitals on my own. I go to ERs on my own. I know my medical history better than my parents know my medical history. Sorry parents, if you're listening, it's true. I can talk through my medications. I know all the right questions to ask. I feel like I am the best person to handle my health. And so going into this surgery, it is a little nerve-wracking. And I think a part of that is because I am the person who knows my health best, but I'm gonna be asleep the whole time. And my wonderful, gracious, kind friends are taking me to the hospital, but they definitely do not know nearly as much about my health and my well-being and what I need as I do, and I'm not going to be awake to tell them, so I'm like writing out like lists to give them of like what they need to know about my conditions and like medication reactions and what I'm on and like who to call if there's an emergency, because I guess maybe a byproduct of growing up sick is also that you like having control over your health. Like I remember reading The Fault in Their Stars, and Hazel says something about how like her mom can keep up with all of the medical terminology about her cancer, and she really doesn't know anything herself. She just like lets her mom handle it. And that was so surprising to me, because every sick person that I know is like, no, I want to know what's going on with my condition. I want to be able to advocate for myself. I want to, I want to know what's happening to my body, and I want to be like in control of what's happening to my body. And I don't know if that has been different from your experience. Let me know. I'm curious. But I feel like in my experience, I want that information, and I want to be the one who is, asking the questions and getting the answers, because it's my body and it's happening to me. And I guess, I don't know, thinking about all of these things while I'm sitting here feeling like I'm not an adult, I'm not qualified to like go to surgery on my own and do all these things, I'm realizing that like I am qualified to do these things. I am the best source of knowledge on myself, and these things are happening to me and to my body, and my body and I are on the same team. We're gonna get through this together. It's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna come out of it knowing that like I am independent, I am an adult, and I can handle medical emergencies on my own. I can get through these things on my own, and it's scary, but also makes me feel like I've come a really long way since those first few surgeries, when I didn't really know what was happening and didn't know how to handle things. Like I've got a checklist, and I'm doing laundry. Like you can see my little laundry rack in the background, because I've been washing so many loads. I'm like letting everything dry. I'm going grocery shopping, and I'm making sure my room is clean, and I'm talking to my professors about things I'm going to be missing. And I feel on top of it. And also maybe that's me feeling a loss of control over my body manifesting and me trying to control everything else in my life. But I think it's working. I feel anxious, but I feel good about my ability to handle myself. I would love to know about your experiences growing up sick. Like, if you grew up like me, going to ERs and going to hospitals a lot, being a medical mystery, or knowing what was happening medically, but just spending a lot of time in medical settings. Like, I want to hear about your experiences. I feel like people who all grew up like this, we can bond over things like, what makes a good nurse? Who's the best department at hospitals? Who's the friendliest? Why aren't there child life specialists in adult hospitals? Like, children's hospitals are the best places. They're colorful and they're fun, and all the nurses are super nice, and they bring you games, and like they talk you through procedures, and it's great. And then you grow up and you go to an adult hospital, and like everything is beige and scary, and it's like, just because we stop being children doesn't mean that the hospital should be a scary beige environment. Nobody wants that. Doesn't make anybody feel good. I'm 22. I would still like to have video games or Disney movies brought to me by a child life specialist. I don't make them an adult life specialist. I don't know, hospital life specialist. Hospitals can be scary, and things like that make them less scary. I don't know, I'm rambling. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you have undergone surgery on your own, what was that experience like? How did you feel about it? Were your anxieties? Do we just get anxious as we get older? I don't know. Speaking of ways of feeling like you're in control, I can finally say this because I finally told my parents about it. But back in November, I did a little something that I've kept quiet about for a while, and I got a tattoo. I have been wanting to get a tattoo for a while, and I got one that for me has a lot of meaning tied to my chronic illness and to being chronically ill and to like life and mortality. I think this idea for me really sparked after Claire Wineland passed away, and I was just thinking a lot about the fact that like we all are going to die, and we don't have control over that, and we don't have control over what our health looks like or what our future looks like. And it's really, really hard for me to accept that I don't have control over those things. But I do want to remind myself that I can control how I live, and I can choose to make my life, you know, something that I love and something that I'm proud of. And, you know, I only get, as far as we know, we only get to do this once. So I want to enjoy it, and I want to live fully and live right. And I was thinking a lot as well about how I don't have control over when I feel pain or where I feel pain or for how long. And I don't have control over the scars that are on my body because of surgery, or just because of things happen and Ehlers-Danlos means that my skin doesn't heal properly. And so it was kind of cool to have this experience where, like, I got to decide that I was going to be in pain, and I got to decide where I was going to feel pain and for how long, and I got to put something on my body that was going to be a scar and going to be permanent, but I got to choose what it was and where it was, and I got to make it something beautiful. And so I'll see if I can show you, but this is my tattoo. It is a wave and a circle with a little rose on the edge, and it has a lot of personal symbolism for me, and it means a lot to me. And it's really, really nice when I'm in an ER or in a hospital and I'm getting an IV to just, like, be able to look over and see it on my arm and just remind myself that, like, I still have control over things in my life, and I still have control over how I live, and I get to choose to make it something beautiful and something that I'm proud of. I'm definitely going to be going into this surgery looking at that image on my arm and reminding myself that I can do this. And for everyone who sent love and thoughts and prayers and good vibes and spoons, I really appreciate it, and hopefully I will be talking to you soon. Until next time.